Hey y'all. Today we will be talking about Harry and Meghan's trip to New York. We already got through day one. I took the weekend off and we talked about Meghan's wine, but now it's time to pick up on where we left off and talk about not only their trip to New York and their engagements, but their fashion. Y'all already knew where I was coming from with this. Don't act surprised. We have a lot to get caught up on, so let's get started. Thank you so much for clicking on my video, and if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. Today, we will be getting some updates from Sussex.com, People Magazine, and Vogue. We have a lot to get caught up on for Harry and Meghan's trip to New York, but before we do, if you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video. Subscribe to the channel, and please don't forget to share so that more people can find us. And while we're on that note, I just want to say once again, thank you to everyone who shared my channel last week because you are slowly helping me get back to where I was before. I don't know if it's a suppression that YouTube is doing, so I don't want to accuse, but it does feel like a suppression because people aren't seeing me and my content isn't being recommended to people who regularly watch me. So I'm not sure what's going on. I'll let them work it out, but I appreciate you guys' help with that. So let's get to the first update. It's from Sussex.com.
Happy World Mental Health Day for everybody.
Today is more than just about conversation. It's about community.
Well, we are so thrilled to be here to support, of course, what is happening in this space and on this very important day with Project Healthy Minds.
Inside my phone. So we decided, what can we do about this? What can we change?
Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, have touched many lives through their groundbreaking work with the Archewell Foundation.
They have shown up over and over. They have done the work, they have carried the burdens, and every single time, they thank others for giving them the opportunity to serve. For these reasons and so many others, no one is more deserving of tonight's honor and the title Humanitarians of the Year than the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
Thank you for being here tonight in support of Project Healthy Minds. Expanding the parents' movement and supporting them throughout is how real change happens.
You've created the spaces for families to connect and to heal. And to all the parents who've been part of the Parents Network, we are accepting this award this evening for you, in honor of all the parents in this community.
So last week on Friday, I shared the New York Day 1 engagements for Harry and Meghan, and we talked about their speeches that they gave at the Project Healthy Minds World Mental Health Day Festival. So that was just a quick snippet of how they spent their week or the Project Healthy Minds related activities. But this gives us a little bit more insight into the second engagement. It's titled Community-Led Solutions Highlighted During World Mental Health Day. Prince Harry and Meghan, Duke and Duchess of Sussex, opened the Project Healthy Minds fourth annual World Mental Health Day Festival in New York City by emphasizing a powerful theme that emerged from the last 3 years of their foundation's work. Mental health is fundamentally a community responsibility, not an individual challenge. As the world's largest gathering on World Mental Health Day, the all-day festival featured programming led by prominent voices in mental health, wellness, and culture, designed to destigmatize conversations and reshape the future of care. The Archewell Foundation sponsored 3 panels throughout the festival's programming. Prince Harry started the morning's programming with an introduction that noted the widespread nature of our global mental health crisis. Quote, "These are not separate problems for separate people," he said. "They are interlocking injuries to our global community. Mental health is shaped by public health, foreign policy, climate policy, corporate design, and economic choices." On a personal note, these are all aligned with my values, and these are things that I champion. This stance is what I champion, and I have championed for a very long time. But many of you know I'm in school for social work. This is just checking off so many mental boxes for me, and it just on a whole nother level and in a whole nother way from a different perspective, it also checks off those boxes. Like my personal and professional values are triggered by this statement. And for me, it feels like this stance, these values, this platform should be common sense. And I'm not even saying common sense for a humanitarian or common sense for a social worker or common sense for a person who devotes their life to philanthropy or charity, but common sense because you're a human in the world. Common sense because you know other people exist. You exist. We are alive. And I feel like there are fundamental rights we have from the moment we take our first breath. The fact that those rights are debated, not only debated in general, but debated on a class level, debated when it comes to race, debated when it comes to gender, debated when it comes to sexual orientation, something that's nobody else's business. There are so many different levels to this. And I appreciate that Prince Harry noted the foreign policy, the climate policy, the corporate design, the economic choices. These are things that feel extremely macro, but when you think about it, they have an extremely micro impact. They affect our day to day. They affect us. They are part of how we live our life. A lot of times when people think of policy, especially when it comes to government and foreign policy, especially because it feels removed from us, a lot of times when people consider that, they don't really think about how that impacts us day to day, because in our minds and what we've been fed by the United States public education system is that is extremely removed, and there are so many levels that it has to surpass before it affects us on a day to day. And I think the only, because there is no other, the only possible positive that could come from a person like Donald Trump taking office is that we actually can now see and feel just how close those poor decisions are to us, how impactful they actually are, how not only do they affect us, but we're seeing our neighbors snatched up off the street, something that many of us read about in Anne Frank's diary. And we thought this is back in the 40s in a whole nother country, and our country was trying to stop this so we are safe. And a lot of us are finding out just how unsafe we actually are, and just how the woes of one man and his loyal legion of psychopaths can actually impact not only us, but a lot of the things that he is doing in our lifetime will impact our children and grandchildren and even great-grandchildren, because it is going to take a hell of a lot of time and effort to fix the shit he's done in this year alone. I say that to say, when people think policy is removed from us, and well, it takes a lot, and not only is it on a federal level, but we have states' rights and our governor will take care of us. Okay, ask the governor of Illinois how that's working out for him. Exactly. These things are in our front yard. These things are in our home. If you have a TV or a radio or a phone in your child's room, they're in your child's head. The potential for exposure is almost inevitable at this point. You can monitor all you want, but the truth of the matter is that information is going to reach your child. That's why it's important to vote in the interest of humanity. It will impact you, your neighbor, your family, your kids. That's why it's imperative that your values are not built on how much money you can make. You can make money in any system. It should be based on your humanity, because the moment you took a breath, you were entitled to certain rights that should not be disputable. They should not be debatable, and they certainly shouldn't be on the chopping block. And so I share that to say, a lot of these things, they have a direct line to our mental health and our mental well-being. And when Prince Harry notes these things about how much our mental health depends on public health and public policy and foreign policy and our economic choices, these things are not exaggerations. This isn't a hyperbolic statement. He's absolutely right. You can probably add 20 on 10 to this statement. Humanity should be the one thing we all come together on. We should all be able to say we're all entitled to a fair and just experience in this world. The fact that that's even a question is terrifying. I made a thread the other day about child abuse. Now, child abuse happens on a lot of levels. There are so many different dynamics that can contribute to child abuse, and there's so many different types of abuse. But I specifically noted child abuse from caregivers, specifically caregivers in blended families. And I said, if you are a step parent and you mistreat a child, you deserve the worst that life has to offer you. And if you are a biological parent who allows it, you deserve the worst times too. That is not a debatable statement to me. And as a matter of fact, I don't see how that rendered anything other than a yep, or let me add to it. Can you believe people debated me on that? The first comment I got was, well, what about the bio parents who pour all the responsibilities on the step parent as if they're a free nanny? Okay. You still shouldn't abuse a child. Like, how is that missing you? Because the point that I'm making is children shouldn't be abused, not that circumstances should be one way or the other. However you come about being a caretaker to a child, you should still take care of that child to the best of your ability. And if you don't like your circumstances as an adult, we have autonomy and we have willpower, and we can change our circumstances. We can walk away. We can contribute to change. We can contribute to productive change. We can have conversations. We can call family meetings. We can provide different things. We can pay for convenience. We can work out a schedule. We have power to impact change and inflict change into the household. Children very rarely have that power, and children are vulnerable because they don't have autonomy. The amount of autonomy children have is only to the extent that their parents allow them or their caregivers allow them. They are a vulnerable party. And so for anyone, for any reason, to abuse a child, it's out of line and it should not be acceptable to anyone, no matter how overworked that parent is, because at the end of the day, abusing a child is not only not going to solve your problem, it makes you an asshole, it makes you a bad person. So the idea that because a step parent or any parent is overworked, then that means the kid should bear the brunt of it in the form of abuse is crazy. I didn't say inconvenience. We don't always get what we want. We don't always have our ideal situation, but that's not what I was discussing. I said abuse, mistreatment, maltreatment, and someone debated it. We are so far gone as a human race, it is scary. Some people actually debated whether or not a child should or should not be abused based on the caregiver's experience as a caregiver. Because how is a child's safety and well-being even an option to you or to anyone? And the craziest part is some people commented and were like, believe it or not, Sharion, it's sad to say a lot of people feel like this is debatable. I have no idea how I'm existing in a world like this. And same. So I shared that to say, there are a lot of different people in this world and they're having a lot of different experiences. And if we can't all come together on the basic fact that human beings deserve human rights, we are very far removed from the plot. And so when Prince Harry says things like mental health is a matter of public health and foreign policy and economic decisions and personal decisions and community, he's not exaggerating. Because that same child should not be, in my scenario, that same child should not be abused. But then that same child goes to school, and whatever the impact of his experience or her experience is at home impacts the children that they interact with at school. And so now this kid might, they don't always, but this kid might also inflict the same behavior towards someone who's vulnerable in their circle as their parents inflict on them. You see how this is going? And now this person is bullying a child who isn't being mistreated at home or a child who is being mistreated at home. This child is now having to deal with something at school that they shouldn't. It continues to spread like a cancer throughout society when we don't do right by each other. This impacts not only the kids at that child's school, but if that child grows up and decides to have kids themselves and doesn't heal, well, now the cycle continues to perpetuate. It's a matter of public health that we all have access to mental health care services. And so when Prince Harry says that it's a public health and a foreign policy issue, I would even venture to say that is an understatement. Too often, decisions made by a few powerful actors ripple across the planet and into every aspect of our lives. Prince Harry also pointed out that our digital world has fundamentally changed how we experience reality. Young people exposed to relentless comparison, harassment, misinformation, and an attention economy designed to keep us scrolling at the expense of sleep and real human contact. Following Prince Harry's opening remarks, a panel moderated by George Craig and sponsored by the foundation explored youth in the digital age with, excuse me if I say this wrong, Eileen Arezia, the executive director of Parents Together, Jayla Stokesbury, a research assistant at Hope Lab, Isabel Sunderland, policy lead at Design It For Us, and Katie S., a junior in high school. The conversation centered the experience of youth with social media, as well as the potential for impact when young people become activists to change policy at the local, state, and national level. It warms my heart to see young people getting involved. I love seeing how kids are starting to recognize, and young adults are starting to recognize more and more just how important it is to be a contributor to the decisions that are made about your life and the lives of others. And when you are on the right side of history, boy, I hope your voice is some of the loudest. My goodness. The Duchess then introduced a panel featuring social psychologist Jonathan Haidt's examination of how technology rewired childhood and caused an international mental health crisis with Amy Neville, community manager of the Parents Network, and Kirsten Ryan, a parent advocate, moderated by journalist Katie Couric. The Duchess shared insights drawn from the Archewell Foundation's work across multiple communities experiencing crisis and trauma. Their observations centered on a consistent pattern. The most effective healing emerged not from services alone, but from communities of shared experience. 3 years ago, we met families whose worlds had shattered. Parents who had lost children to social media-driven suicide. Others watching their kids struggle with depression, anxiety, and self-harm linked to online platforms. What began as individual tragedies became the foundation for the Parents Network. a community that grew from a small pilot in November of 2022 to a global support system serving families across 3 countries by August 2024. She emphasized that bereaved parents required more than traditional therapy. Quote, the parents who lost children to social media didn't just need therapy, they needed other parents who understood their specific grief. When these parents came together, they weren't just sharing stories, they were creating a movement. Utilizing trauma-informed practices, parents created strong bonds and offered healing support through community. They turned their grief into advocacy. They turned their grief into advocacy when they let love fuel their fight for change. The Duchess also outlined how this principle of community-driven healing manifested across the Archewell Foundation's initiatives. Their partnership with Girls Inc. and Half the Story reached young girls in underserved communities, addressing body image and online safety while building networks of resilience. The foundation sponsored an additional panel focused on mental health during humanitarian crises. Throughout the day, the Lost Screen Memorial was featured at both the front entrance and rooftop of the festival, serving as a visual reminder of the lives affected by online harms. A call to collective action. This marked the second time the Duke and Duchess supported Project Healthy Minds World Mental Health Day events. The organization is a millennial and Gen Z-driven mental health tech nonprofit dedicated to expanding access to mental health services across the United States. Its programmatic initiatives serve more than 200,000 people annually. In 2023, the Archewell Foundation produced conversations with the Parents Network families about social media's impact on youth. We covered that as well. Feel free to check out that video if you want to see a summary. All this work was highlighted during the Project Healthy Minds Gala the previous night, where the Duke and Duchess were honored as Humanitarians of the Year, as Laura Marquez Garrett, an attorney with the Social Media Victims Law Center, noted, quote, you didn't just create a support network, you created and sustained a movement with your kindness and refusal to give up. You made the world a better and safer place in a way that will never stop giving, no matter what happens next. The Duchess concluded with a call to recognize mental health as a shared responsibility. Quote, while the research is sobering, the solutions are within reach, especially when parents, advocates, and communities come together.
The extraordinary strength and determination of parents who refuse to give up. Because in any ordinary or logical situation, those responsible for creating the conditions and facilitating the circumstances where children are led and lured to such harm would be held accountable. We are so proud that so many of these brave parents are taking a stand, dedicating themselves to fighting for change in a David versus Goliath situation. That's why we are so proud to announce tonight that the Parents Network is joining forces with Parents Together.
And to all the parents who have been part of the Parents Network, we are accepting this award this evening for you, in honor of all the parents in this community. This expansion of Parents Together represents both our commitment as well as the acknowledgement that we need to reach more families to create greater and faster change. Together we can, and we will, build a movement that all families and all children deserve. We know that when parents come together, when communities unite, waves are made. We've seen it happen, and we're watching it grow. And with your support, we'll continue building a safer digital world for all of our children. So on behalf of my husband and I, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you all of you for your support, and thank you for standing with us as we continue this vital work. Thank you, we appreciate it.
Also, while in New York, Harry and Meghan were not just all work, they were also a little bit of play. They caught up with Serena Williams and had lunch at Soho House, which photographers caught them going in for. And then later, Meghan was shown going to dinner with a friend solo with a very sleek jumpsuit on and a blazer and a ponytail. She looked amazing in both outings, and it's great to see that they're actually having a really good time while they're in New York as well as working. We know that they are both extremely hard workers, but I love that they continue to represent the balance that's necessary to lead a very fulfilling life. They catch up with friends, they host people, they go out to dinner, they vacation, they have date nights, but they also get down to business. And one of the things that I love is that they actually live what they preach, that ultimate balance that's necessary. That's considered self-care. That is a form of self-care, is having some form of balance in your life where you're not just one-dimensional and you're not just all play, you're not just all work, you're not just expending yourself for the benefit of other people. You're actually pouring back into yourself in the form of spending time with friends, spending time with one another, spending time with your kids, doing what needs to be done, but also doing the things that you get to do. And all of those are extremely necessary to leading living a very fulfilling life. I can't imagine being as busy as Harry and Meghan, and still making time to not only visit with friends and have a good time, but visit with friends who don't live in the same state as me, live on the other side of the country as me. But they make it happen, they make it work, and I think they are a great example of how you can achieve that. So we did talk about World Mental Health Day and how Harry and Meghan marked that occasion with Project Healthy Minds, but they also marked the International Day of the Girl Child, and they did that with an update from Sussex.com. So I do want to share that. So here's the update from Sussex.com. It's titled Uplifting Girls in Digital Spaces. Now, I also want to point out, I love that one, they acknowledge these extremely important holidays and occasions annually, but they still manage to do so by roping them into their platform in organic ways because they are advocates for online safety. So I love that they're using the International Day of the Girl Child to continue that narrative through helping girls in digital spaces. I think it's a really great way to stay organic, but also to continue to raise awareness for very important issues on appropriate occasions as well. Last year, in celebration of International Day of the Girl, the Archewell Foundation joined Pivotal Ventures and the Oprah Winfrey Charitable Foundation to support a partnership between Girls Inc. and Half the Story, an initiative designed to provide digital wellness programming for young girls in underserved communities across America. On this International Day of the Girl, also known as International Day of the Girl Child, the Archewell Foundation is proud to see Half the Story continue to expand this work. Over the summer, Half the Story launched the New York State and Half the Story Teen Tech Council, ensuring youth voices are represented in shaping what healthy educational environments look like in a digital age. As New York moves toward phone-free schools statewide, the Teen Tech Council brings students directly into dialogue with leaders and policymakers to share their perspectives on how to best support mental health, connection, and learning in schools with limited phone use. Over time, the council will expand to include students from across New York, amplifying the diverse young voices, including those of young girls, in this important conversation. The Teen Tech Council grew out of Half the Story's Digital Civic Academy, a week-long leadership program that equips nearly 60 young people each year with the skills to engage in local and global advocacy around digital well-being. That's amazing. The Archewell Foundation uplifts organizations like Half the Story, today and every day, that empower young people and young girls to shape their digital futures and to ensure that every child has the tools, confidence, and support to thrive both online and offline. That's incredible. Again, that is Girls Inc. and Half the Story. I think this is so important and this is great work. And I love that, again, they use the International Day of the Girl or Girl Child to recognize this incredible work. And it is still ongoing. This is incredible. Anyway. Thank you so much for watching the SharionSade YouTube channel. I appreciate you watching my content. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video by hitting the thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button. And don't forget to comment along the way. If you feel so inclined, please don't forget to share so that more people can find us. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, so now we have to get to the Sussex style of it all. I got a chance to talk about Meghan and that amazing black suit that she wore from Giorgio Armani. And I also talked about Meghan's Paris Fashion Week looks a lot. Y'all are probably tired of hearing my opinion on that, but that's okay. So now I want to talk about her New York Day 2 looks. And I have to start with her Ralph Lauren striped shirt. First of all, we've seen this a couple of times. She's reworn it in different ways. Again, keeping it fresh, keeping it fun, and definitely keeping it a staple in her wardrobe. And I love the way she dressed it up this time with the brown, white, and navy color scheme. I thought it looked great. And the brown or the camel actually highlighted the royal blue of it all. I thought it looked so good and it was a great pairing as well as with the belt. So we're going to catch up with her outfit from the Project Healthy Minds World Mental Health Day Festival. And we're going to start with the coat. She's wearing the Max Mara Lilia belted long sleeve coat in camel. I love everything about this coat. I really like the length of it. It goes to just below the knee. And I think it's great because not only is this color extremely versatile, but we're in fall. We're not full out in winter. And I feel like these browns, these maroons, these navies, we're just getting started with the fall wardrobe. And as she continues to pull in these fall and autumn colors, we're going to see the slow transition into seasonal dressing. And I think this is a wonderful way to get started on that. And I'm pretty sure she knew just how needed it was. I'm pretty sure the cold or the chill in New York was a great motivator to wear this fabulous piece. Now for the shirt we just talked about, it's the Ralph Lauren Capri Relaxed Fit striped cotton shirt in white and classic blue. Something that I really enjoy about Ralph Lauren button downs in general, but this one in particular, is that they are bold. The stripes are bold and the colors are bold. I really enjoy the transition from the white and the blue. Navy stripes, royal blue stripes are always going to get me, but I am a circle for vertical stripes in general. Sue me, that's where my heart lies. Almost all of my button downs are vertical stripes, and this is no different. I like this shirt's crisp collar and how structured it is. And there are times when Meghan will wear this, but she will give it a relaxed feel by how she does the collar or how she does the sleeves. But here she went strictly formal. She went very structured on this. The collar was very firm and starched and crisp. And then she had the sleeves rolled, but instead of rolling them so that they had a slight wrinkle, she had them pushed up. So maintaining the structure and making the shoulders look a lot more broad. So again, she can take it to formal and informal. And this is just another way of wearing the same shirt and giving it a very new and fresh look. Something that I enjoy is Meghan pays close attention to her silhouette in all of these outfits, and she really makes use of wide leg pants. I like how her outfits are very structured, but then the wide leg pants, although they are pleated, they do give an effortless quality to it, especially in satin or silk, because they move with her body. So they create this really nice waves. As I like to call it, they gallop as she walks and they make a nice wave. So it's not too firm, it's not too stuffy. You still get that same just so quality. And I was talking about this not too long ago. I believe it was on TikTok, where I said, I'm starting to recognize that there are staple pieces in Meghan's wardrobe, but there are staple elements in her wardrobe as well, where you will see them carry on through every outfit, whether high fashion, whether casual, whether pajamas, whether everyday, whether formal, they carry through. And that is the quality or the element of just so, or barely there, or just casually done with care. And I love that because it does give a real California girl, not too perfect, just so, just left of center quality there that I feel like humanizes her looks, especially considering she can be in a lot of stuffy environments. So keeping that trend, keeping that element present in all of her looks definitely brings the Meghan back to it. So for example, these pants, the just so quality that I would note in these pants is the satin silk of it all. They're not super structured pants, and they're not starched to horizons. They're pleated, but they're not stuck. They're not firm. They're not immovable. The satin fabric makes them move with her body. They're not super structured. They're not immovable. They're not denim. They're very movable. And like I said, they gallop with her legs. They gallop with her steps with each leg. And so you have this carefree essence about it, despite this environment, as well as this outfit being very put together. You have this belt, you have the high-waisted wide leg pants, you have this beautiful coat, you have this very structured button down, and you have high heels, yet you still have the element of Meghan being very carefree and just bringing herself that type of sunshine into every environment. And we didn't even get into the low bun. I just feel like low buns can be very structured. Low buns can give you a very serious and strict vibe. Sometimes I like to utilize low buns for that. More often than not, when I'm having my first day of work, if I start a new career or I join a new company or I'm kind of starting a new journey and I need people to kind of take me seriously, a low bun is where it's at. It's no nonsense. It's no nonsense, but it's also very convenient because you don't really know what today is going to bring. If it's super windy, if it starts to rain, what have you, I don't have to worry about my hair. It's in a low bun, but it also gives me a very serious look. But something that I also like about the low bun is if you just loosen it a bit and pull some hairs out, it becomes a chignon, effortlessly elegant, and you can kind of change it up. Something that Meghan managed to do with this look is have a very structured look, a low, serious bun, high heels, and still come off very relaxed and casual, but polished. Again, that's the element that carries through in all of her looks. It's something that I actually really enjoy. So tomorrow, Meghan will be attending the Fortune's Women Leadership Summit, and I will be talking about that in tomorrow's evening video. So I look forward to catching up about that and talking about her fashion. Again, I'm loving the looks that they are both pulling out. We have a lot to catch up on, but this is where we are so far. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I look forward to reading your comments in the comment section below. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. Members, you will be getting a video today or tomorrow discussing Chrissy Teigen's comments on her friendship with Meghan. And then Patreon, y'all will be getting a video on Wednesday. I look forward to that discussion, so I'm excited to read your commentary. That's all I have. Thanks for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.